Welcome to Style of Play Football with myself, Theo. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. There's hardly anyone subscribing so far. I can see a few people watching the videos, but let's get the channel built up. Let's get the algorithm going. Let's do something special over the World Cup. Let's get that done. So make sure you hit that subscribe button before you do anything else and continue with this video. Now, the World Cup is in full effect, in full swing. We've seen some really good performances, some really shocking performances, and some really bad games as well. So we've had a mixture of everything so far. Currently, at the moment, and it did end 3-3. We had a brilliant game just before I started recording this. Cameroon and Serbia. Serbia looked like they were going to get the 3 points, and with 3-1 up at one point, Cameroon came back and yeah, leveled the game. So it's all open to play for in Group G. That now leaves a lot to play for in that last game. Obviously, Brazil and Switzerland top the Group 3 points apiece. They play later on today at 4 p.m. But that final game now, going into that, especially if Switzerland don't win today as well, or at least get something out of the game, you do go into that final game. You know, Serbia having to play Brazil, I think it is, and Cameroon playing Switzerland. You have to go into that game with a bit of needing to win something there. But credit to Cameroon, they dug deep and fought back, and got a brilliant result. Obviously, going before that as well, Spain had a really good victory yesterday against Germany. But I think the shock so far has to be Saudi Arabia, Argentina. I think that's probably the biggest shock so far of the tournament. And obviously Costa Rica as well yesterday got a really good performance and 3 points against Japan. So there's been some shocks, twists and turns in the group stages so far. I think as the last 16 and so on progresses, you're going to see a few more of those shocks, a few more teams that potentially you wouldn't think getting through those group stages will be in those last 16s by the looks of it as well. But I want to talk about tomorrow's fixture. Group B, obviously, England versus Wales, a massive game. England currently top the group with 4 points after 2 games played. Wales currently at the bottom of the group. Now, it's going to take a miracle for Wales to qualify out of this. I think they're almost dead and buried at the moment. I think, you know, you look at Iran, who played really well, and obviously got a really good victory as well under their belt. But you look at USA, you know, that they're a team that will, you know, they obviously Iran beat Wales, but then, you know, you look at the other 2 teams in there, USA and England, you'd expect them to qualify. But let's talk about the performances that England have played out so far. Obviously, beating Iran 6-2 was a flattering result. It looked almost certain that, you know, England were going to go into this game and beat Iran, and they did that convincingly. The USA game, I'm going to say the USA game was a shocking game for us. We didn't look like a team that was going to win that game. I thought Gareth Southgate's substitutions were crazy. I still don't think having Phil Foden on the bench is beneficial to the country, to Gareth Southgate, to the team. I don't get it. I don't get what Phil Foden has to do to start a game for England. You know, I think he's getting the Jack Grealish treatment. You know, I think before Grealish signed for Manchester City, a lot of people were saying that Jack Grealish has to be in the England squad. He has to do well. He has to be put in there, and he wasn't getting his chances. And now Phil Foden is getting that same treatment. There's a lot of question marks and there was a lot of talk after the game against USA about Kieran Trippier. Should he retain his place? Should Trent Alexander-Arnold be given a shot at right back as well? Let's get into the lineup. Actually, let's do that. Let's get straight into the lineup. I've done my predicted lineup. This is the lineup I personally would like to see Gareth Southgate go with, and I have put Alexander-Arnold in the team. I think I mean, this is a game which, you know, we're all qualified out of the group now, and this is a game that I would test Trent in and see how he does against Wales, to see how he can progress in these tournaments. I think, you know, trying to play the same team every single game isn't going to work. You know, we've seen injuries picked up left, right, center for other countries. So I think, for me, he's not the best defender. We know that as well. But I think the formation, the style of play that we've been playing so far, I think Wales would be a really good test for Trent if he can come into this game and defend really well and put in some of those performances that he's done for Liverpool, especially going forward, and I think that would complement Saka, who I don't think had the best of games against USA either. And I think if you have Trent, running alongside Saka, Shaw doing the same for Phil Foden, who've also included in the squad, I think that gives us the opportunity to test out what we could potentially do in the knockout stages as well. But I've gone for the usual, obviously, Jordan Pickford in goal, which is a given. I think he's played really well, put some really good saves in, especially against USA, put some really good saves in throughout the tournament so far. I've gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously at right back. I've gone for the two in centre back as Stones and Maguire, who I think have had a really good partnership so far throughout the tournament. They've done really well. Luke Shaw, who I thought has retained his place, and you look at the options from left back, there isn't really many. If Trent's playing, potentially you could put Kieran Trippier at left back, but I think Luke Shaw deserves to retain his spot there as well. I thought both Bellingham and Declan Rice didn't have the best games against USA, but I think we should stick with that two in the middle. Henderson came on and didn't really offer anything against USA as well. So I'd stick with Bellingham and Rice in midfield. I think they have a good combination, a good chemistry between the two of them in the middle of the pitch there as well. Now my front three that I've gone for, the three ahead of just behind Harry Kane, is Phil Foden, Mason Mount down the middle, and Bukayo Saka on the right side of that three. Now, I think having those three there gives you a lot of creativity going forward. And I think that's one of the things that we sort of lacked, against USA. We didn't have that creativity. Yes, we had Mason Mount and Saka, who, Iran, he played really well, but you saw how he sort of struggled. And credit to USA as well, because they pocketed a lot of the players, Saka, Mason Mount, Harry Kane, didn't give Bellingham and Rice the opportunity to get forward as much as potentially they would have liked to in that game. But I think if you've got Phil Foden, who for me is a generational talent, he's one of the best players we have in the squad, in the team, in the country. He should be starting the game against Wales. He should be featuring in the last 16 and so on and so on. He has to start, in my opinion. Mason Mount, again, there's a lot of question marks over him. Was he at fault for some of the bad performances that we've seen at Chelsea? 100%. But I still think he has a job to do for England, and I think he can do that with effective players around him. You look at Saka and Foden. For me, the two that would easily complement Mount in that position. I do think Raheem Sterling, again, has played a lot of football for Chelsea since his move from Manchester City, and obviously coming to this World Cup, he scored the goal against Iran. But we have to start thinking about these latter stages now. And if we do want to try and win the World Cup, you do have to rotate slightly and bring on a couple of players, rest some. Sterling's a really good option to come off from the bench if we do need a goal against Wales. So I think those three would be my attacking midfielders. And then I've gone for the usual suspects, Harry Kane up front, who I think, I always find, even against USA, Harry Kane having to come back into midfield. When you've got Bellingham, you've got Rice that can do that job. You've got Mason Mount that can slot into that position. I think Harry Kane plays too deep. He's dropping back too far into midfield. And, as a number 9, you want your number 9 to be in the box. You got the likes of Foden, Mount and Saka, the creativity that all three of them can bring you. You need to be in the box to receive the ball. If you're in midfield, or you're the one that's providing the ball and laying the ball off and feeding the ball through, then that's great. But when you haven't got someone else who can score those goals in the box, you need Harry Kane in the box. You saw what he could do for, I think it was Sterling, Sterling's goal. He just put the ball literally on the plate for him. But it should have been the other way around. And, Kane has to be in the box for me. He has to be in the box. Killer instant goals. That's what we need from Harry Kane. We don't need Harry Kane to be the provider or dropping back into midfield. So I think if we can get this right, and obviously Trent, again, another one that can provide brilliant balls into the box as well. Luke Shaw as well. There's options there for Harry Kane to honestly go out as golden boot win if he really wanted to. And, I think, again, Callum Wilson, you can bring him off the bench. Marcus Rashford, you can bring him off the bench. So there's a lot of options we've got off the bench. And, I looked at Belgium's squad yesterday, and you look at the quality that they've had over the years. And, some of the players, Hazards and Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, all these players that they've had, and they've never won a major tournament. They've never won something with that squad, and I look at the goals that they conceded yesterday. Courtois being beaten, his near post. It was, this is probably again, going back to England, this is probably the best opportunity England are going to get to win something major. We've been so close, semi-finals in the World Cup, finals in the Euros, and I feel like this has to be the time now, because some of these players, you look at them, Harry Kane's and maybe some of the others, Maguire's and Stones, they haven't got many World Cups in them. They haven't got many major tournaments at international level in them now. We have to pass the baton over to the Sakas and the Fodens and the Bellinghams and the Trents. But some of these players, like I said, Harry Kane's and so on, Callum Wilson, they don't have that many major international tournaments in them. So for me, this is the World Cup we should be winning. We should be playing well in, and for me, that's the lineup that I would go with. That um should be able to give Wales something to think about in the game. So I'm hoping that's just the lineup that we go with. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about what your lineup would be. Who would you go with? Would you actually include Trent? Would you keep him on the bench? But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go for a prediction of 2-0 to England. I think Wales will struggle. Wales potentially will be thinking about exiting the World Cup, as they look like they will be after tomorrow. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know your predicted lineups. This has been T. Style of Play Football. Until next time, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we top the group tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for some more videos.